Welcome to the first episode of Pod Shots with your host, Brandon Zemp, which is me, myself, and Clement Young. We discuss everything from economics to pop culture with the end goal of bringing you, the listener, something valuable to take away every single week. And the best part is we do it over shots. We'll try a new bottle every single week for your pleasure and entertainment. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe. Welcome to Pod Shots.
I'm gonna pop this open, bro.
Good. That's a good way to start it on the Pop It Open podcast.
So the idea is that we are going to feature a different liquor every episode.
Yes.
We realize how many bottles of liquor we're going to have by like the second season.
We are going to feature a new bottle of liqueur every episode. And you never know. Maybe that'll be a beer. Maybe that'll be something hard. Maybe that'll be something nice, like a wine. Who knows? But most likely, it'll be shots.
Right. Because shots are just where it's at.
Yes. Welcome to the Insert Your Title podcast.
Right. Yeah. Where each week we review something interesting, funny, exciting, and give you some actionable tips on how to apply it to your life.
And we're going to
that's the most important
add so much value to your life today. We promise.
I think so. I hope so.
So, I don't know. For the first show, should we just start off with a shot? Or should we?
Let's do it. What did we pick?
What did we pick? Oh, a classic.
I think your bottle is bigger than mine. Mine's quite...
My bottle is always bigger than yours.
Yeah, size, size matters, but...
Size? Nope, it's not about the size. It's about the length of the vector that counts.
Spoken like a true mathematician.
Yes. My shot's pretty tall.
Virtual cheers, bro.
Virtual cheers. Tink. Oh my God. I just spooked a little bit. It's okay. You got most of it.
I don't know about you, but I mean, you're a tequila drinker. Right, obviously.
Yes.
You've been through quite a handful of bottles since I met you. I'm not sure if that's because I met you or...
I've handled many bottles, my friends.
Right. I'm not a big tequila drinker, so it is nice, but I feel like I've had tequila that's not as harsh as this. Maybe it was like a different version of Jose Cuervo.
Of all the cheap tequilas that I've tried, and this is cheap, especially here, it's even cheaper. So I feel like a bum when I drink it, but it is the gold version. It is smooth, if you have it like over ice, like in a glass, it does kind of like mellow out that burning sensation you get in your throat. So I would highly recommend that if you are looking for a lovely, cheap as fuck tequila to sip on, this is a good one.
It's not bad.
To do shots with, it burns. It does burn. I can feel it in my sternum right now, moving forward. So,
but it's not so harsh. You don't need to. You don't need to follow it with a chaser. This one's pretty smooth, and it is cheap too. Like I was surprised by. I thought it was going to be more expensive because I don't buy Jose Cuervo, but it's pretty cheap. And I don't know. You remember when we were in like college, we were growing up. And then we'd go to a bar or whatever, a party, and there'd be tequila. And that was the drink that was going to funk you up. That was the one that everyone was like, oh God, I'm going to have a shot of tequila. And it was really difficult. I couldn't enjoy it. So I had to follow it with like lemon and salt. But now, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and my taste buds have like evolved. But now I don't feel like doing that. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's the brand. But does the same happen to you?
Yeah, I think it does depend on the brand because like sometimes when I try like different tequilas or just different brands of tequila or different brands of rum or wine or whatever. I mean, obviously there's a difference on the palate, how it tastes, shit like that. But
yeah,
I think with tequila, the difference is like on a scale of smoothness and like that burning sensation. that makes you want to vomit all over the floor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on that scale, Jose Cuervo, I'd put it about 5 or 6 for shooting that makes you want to vomit all over the floor. But in terms of smooth, like in a glass, honestly, I'd give it an 8. It's pretty good. I would actually put it up there with Patron. It's not bad.
Patron, yeah, okay. So we can do that too.
It's over ice.
I'm actually feeling it already. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling that shot already.
Good. Because we got a few more to go.
We got a few more to go. Yeah. So how is everything going? I think it's unavoidable to talk about what's happening right now in the world.
Mm-hmm. It is.
How are you finding it?
Well, since you left, when you left Medellin, because I'm in Colombia at the moment, if anyone is wondering, it was relatively normal as the world was beginning to fall apart, and it's starting to catch up here. I went down to the local grocery store, Coruja, and for the first time, there were aisles that were completely empty.
Right. So that's the first time.
Yes. But, that stuff was happening major first world countries, United States, in Europe, Asia, and a lot of other places. 2 weeks ago, not that long ago. But we're finally starting to catch up to that. People are a little bit more worried. There's an emergency health response that's put into effect. Everybody, practically, I think like 8 out of 10 people that you see are wearing a mask right now. There were people in the store that were like filling up their grocery cart just full of bratwurst, man, just full of bratwurst. Bratwurst and sandwiches, like bread. So I don't know what their plans are for the apocalypse, but obviously
hot dogs.
A good hot bratwurst on bread. That's what people want. So there was a lot of that. But surprisingly, no one touched the cereal. Like, it's like a godsend. Like, so much cereal left. Like, I'm happy about that. And there's plenty of spaghetti, but the bread was completely gone. It's like what people choose to take off the shelf.
It is very interesting.
It's like, we're going to go for the toilet paper, but we're not going to go for the rice or the long-term things that will keep us alive. We're just worried about wiping our ass. And I don't know, it's weird, but since you left, I mean, as of now, I mean, there's a lot of changes that have taken effect. The government has decided that anyone that is 70 years or older must remain at home and is not allowed to be out and about. They closed the border to Venezuela. They shut down gathering places, all the gyms. I'm so pissed about that. They shut down the gyms. They're doing. That's
a breeding ground, though, bro. That's a real breeding ground.
They're doing some mass sterilization of like certain areas that people, really gather and sweat and go to religiously, which is fine. It's good. It's a good precautionary step because I think Colombia is at around 60 people that have been infected, and there's been like 10 in Medellin. Obviously, the number will go up, but they're definitely trying to hold it off. I mean, there's millions of people here. So I'm not worried about the 10 that have it, but it's going to pick up. We're a couple of weeks behind what's happening in a lot of the major first world countries, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, where this is really plaguing people.
In Europe,
it'll ramp up. You'll see more. You'll see a lot more.
Yeah, it feels, on one hand, it kind of feels like a huge slumber party kind of thing where you're just. You know what I mean? Like, you're not doing anything. You don't feel like you need to do anything. It's an opportunity for people to unload a lot of the stress that they've been feeling. I guess I'm not stressed, so that's what I would guess. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who are super stressed at the prospect of what's to come, what's happening right now with their job, whether they lose it, if they've lost it already. So. Yeah, it's just I'm mixed. I've got mixed emotions about the whole thing. I was obviously perusing coronavirus-related material online, and I did come across an article that talked about how Venice canals are starting to fill up with wildlife again. There's like swans, there's fish in there, the water's cleared up, and then you've got China. China's pollution is almost completely subsided. in that period of time, and you can see the stars at night. I mean, this is good news for the environment too.
It could be good news for the environment. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with all this toilet paper and plastic that people are buying, though. It could be a disaster.
That's true.
Who knows? Who knows? But, you know, to all the people that are at home self-quarantining because, you know, their butt itches and they have a cold, I just want to let you know that there's a difference between actually being sick and quarantining yourself and, you know, just staying home and feeling sorry for yourself. Because I do see a lot of people that are doing that right now. And it kind of bugs me. And it's becoming my new top pet peeve in the apocalypse.
Clarify. So what do you mean by people staying at home feeling sorry for themselves compared to people? Because
I'll explain. I'll explain. So, right. I mean, there are a lot of people, sure, that aren't feeling well, that may feel they have symptoms, or that actually do have COVID-19, that are home self-quarantining, doing what they should be doing. Awesome. Then there are millions of other people that are sitting at home, that are worrying, that are panicking, that are doing nothing but watching Netflix and Disney Plus, and feeling sorry for themselves and not knowing what to do with their lives. And those are the people that, if they are listening, I would encourage you to definitely snap out of it and look at the opportunities, because you are okay, you're fine, and it is a time for people to realize that there are things you can do, either for yourself and for others, whether that be for others doing charitable work, or if you're healthy enough, get out of your apartment and go help somebody or provide something. If you're stuck in your apartment and you don't want to leave, fine. There's still a lot of things you can do. I mean, you can get involved and you can invest. You can look at the opportunities. You know, if you're entrepreneurial, you can start a business, work from home.
Yeah. Just do something productive, right? Just
don't sit there, feel sorry for yourself, and then masturbate the whole time. Like what people are doing. They're watching Mulan and jacking off and feeling sorry for themselves.
Well, maybe some people are watching Mulan and jacking off, but I don't think I've ever had that desire.
I mean, that's a very specific example, but you get the general idea. There are plenty.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's actually just a really interesting opportunity for people to do something that they don't usually do, and I know that. Most of the friends that I have talk about, I was thinking about starting this business, or I was thinking about selling this, or I was thinking about learning this. And now that we have a little bit extra time on our hands, you can actually go ahead and try and figure out how to start with those things. And many experts, and even not experts, just people who are good at something, are starting to create content online. And I think this is kind of segueing into what we could talk about today. I think we talked about personal branding, but I've tuned into quite a few IGTVs of people just on the fly, authors of books, just kind of like saying, okay, we're doing a fireside chat tonight for an hour. We're going to talk about personal finances. What should I do with my money in this time of the coronavirus? It's really helpful stuff. I've seen friends of mine, post videos on IGTV about doing yoga classes online. You know, everyone can join in if they want to. It's really, really good way to use your time, better than playing on the PS4 or just kind of, lazing around. I think it's okay to do that to a certain degree, but yeah, you can't complain, right? If you're not actually actively doing something to make your life and other people's lives better.
That's what I've been doing too. Like the whole personal branding thing. It's an opportunity for everyone that's sitting at home on their phones, on their computers, that are getting bored as shit because they've watched everything on Netflix already. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on LinkedIn and YouTube. They're looking for things to entertain themselves. So I've definitely been pushing my personal brand a lot harder. I mean, as you probably noticed, especially the last 2 weeks, putting out IGTV videos, doing some interviews with different people, launching a new podcast with you. I have another podcast episode for Blockcash that I'll put out later today, which by the time this episode comes out will be in the past.
Yeah.
But I mean, the point is I'm taking the opportunity to really hit these platforms because they're going to see, and they are seeing a surge in activity because that's where we're stuck. And, if you're at home, it's an opportunity for you to also grow your personal brand. And, it's a unique opportunity where people are going to be listening and forced to listen for, the first time since a lot of these applications have actually been launched. So take advantage of social media opportunity right now.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear that people's engagement rates are just shooting through the roof because of what's happening. And I don't think it's something people give themselves credit for. We're doing another one. Okay.
Well, I think we're getting to the point where we should do another one. To be honest, I'm not sure where the timer is.
Check out this shot glass. This is
Is that a dodo?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that is a dope shot.
It's a dodo, bro. My father's from Mauritius.
What's that?
And
is that a disease?
My father is Mauritian, and the dodo is actually was a native Mauritian bird. So that's probably why I have a dodo shot glass. But anyway, cheers.
That sounds lovely. Cheers. Tink.
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 Okay. I used to get called that at school. I was like, is this guy being racist with me? I've had a bit of an interesting experience with xenophobia recently.
Yeah.
Because of it's something I'm not used to it. I don't ever.
You've experienced xenophobia, or you've seen someone?
Me personally.
Oh, how so?
Yeah. People, they didn't outright say that they were treating me different because I'm Chinese, half Chinese, but it was very obvious to me that I was being treated differently because I could see people around me who weren't, and we're talking about in places like supermarkets or whatever. There's definitely a sentiment of racism floating in the air. And it's just because people are scared. People are scared of they're scared and they're angry. So yeah, I think it happens with every ethnic minority that you can put your finger on. It's an easy way to kind of vent yourself. It's an easy way to blame someone else for the situation. And Jesus, I'm really, I'm one of the first people to get upset at the fact that there's still a wildlife animal trade going on in China. But it's just a really strange feeling. Now I know how it feels for, other ethnic minorities. Like, for example, after 2008, Muslims and Middle Eastern people, anyone that's brown. I mean, it all clicks now. Like, it must be awful. So yeah, tricky stuff, man. So that's when I was getting my Jose Cuervo earlier.
It's always a touchy subject once you start getting into the general topic of racism in a lot of ways. There's, from one aspect, you can look at it as being bad because it is bad. You're targeting a group of people and classifying that group of people or blaming a group of people for something, which is not fair. And that includes every color, religion, and race. And then from the other aspect of it, if you look at it from a psychological viewpoint, people are scared. And, people, when they get scared, they look for an outlet to blame. And a lot of the times they don't even mean it too. And that is hard to accept, and that is hard to forgive someone for. But I think in order to maintain a relative, peace in the world, understanding in the world, I in some ways, I feel like you have to you accept certain situations. Like with COVID-19, for example, there's a lot of people that are blaming the Chinese or Asians in general for this disease. It is wrong. They should not be blaming the Chinese for it or Asians for it. But, at the same time, I mean, it is something that they did that brought this to. And, it's hard to accept that from both points of view. But, if you're Chinese or Asian, I would suggest patience and understanding that this is scary for a lot of people and they don't mean what they say. And if you're any other person that's, blaming them, I'd consider calming down and reflecting on what your words are and being more thoughtful. I think from both standpoints, if both groups of people did that, I think generally the world would be a better place, because I think a lot of things stem from misunderstandings.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I kind of hate the Chinese right now as well, so I can't blame people. But I'm allowed to say that, so it's all cool. It's all good. But yeah, back on the subject of what to do with your time right now. It's not even just it's not a question of how do I fill it with something practical. For me, it's more like, what am I going to do to ensure that I'm going to at least work on generating some kind of professional development, some kind of revenue stream that doesn't require me to go to work. If I lose my job, how am I going to manage? And we've seen for years and years now how any regular person can just go and start creating content online. And soon enough, if they're consistent and they've got something of value to share, they can actually end up having a full-time source of income, something that can replace their job and something that can give them, I would imagine, because I have not done this myself yet, although it's something that I'm something I'm in the process of building, ultimate freedom from an employer, freedom from a job. And yeah, there's a bunch of reasons why people might not want to start, but they have that in their mind. Like, it's something that they've always been interested in, but they've never started. There's a lot of reasons why someone might not have done that yet, but now is an excellent time to do it. Mm-hmm. It's just very prudent, given that there's such a shift towards digital, to start to think about how you can repackage your knowledge and your skills and just throw it all online so that people can start,
well, let's give some ideas. What are some things that come to mind that if you're stuck at home right now and you're getting exhausted from jacking off the entire time, Disney Plus princesses, what could you?
You are so specific tonight. It's amazing, and it seems to be centered around Disney. So I kind of I'm starting to wonder what your subscriptions look like.
Don't read into that, okay? Don't read it. It's Jose talking right now, not me. But okay.
Yeah. Okay. So example.
Somewhat serious. What? Somewhat, because there's a fine line with everything in life. What would you, in your opinion, and I'll contribute to in my opinion, if you're stuck at home and you're in the situation where you're trying to, avoid passing it to a family member and you're bored, what could you do? What are some opportunities? What could you do for yourself digitally?
Yeah. So essentially, and this is something that I was reinforced in me by being on a coaching call with Tai Lopez one day. I don't know if you know who Tai Lopez is, but he's basically an incredible salesperson.
He's a guy that'd walk around on social media and be like, look at all my money in cars. You can do it too. And I won't tell you how until you go through my funnel.
Yeah. He's the I've been reading all these books, but check out my Lamborghini guy.
Yes.
And as much as you might not like that person, they're actually very good at selling, and they have a lot of good ideas. So on this particular coaching call, which was a group coaching call, by the way, he mentioned that if you want to change what you're doing, which is essentially what we're talking about here, because we're talking to specifically to people who are not doing this yet. They're employed, or they have their own small business or whatever, or they're in a big corporation. And now we're talking about creating content specifically. So he said, it's easier to pivot to something that's going to leverage your knowledge and your skills as opposed to starting completely from scratch. So I'm not telling anyone on this podcast to start learning something new, because that's one of the fears, is that, oh my God, now I need to learn something completely new. No, you don't. You already have years and years of knowledge and skills in whatever it is that you chose to study and whatever it is that you chose to end up doing for a career. And you can somehow, or it doesn't even have to be professional. It could be a hobby of yours. It could be something you like, playing the guitar since you were a kid, or your interests. You could be a pundit. You could review movies. So you see where I'm going with this? Yes. Anything that you enjoy, that you are good at, you can theoretically put that into content online, and someone else somewhere will also enjoy that. And that's what I'm trying to say. You leverage what you already know. So some examples are what I've just said. Guitar, learning to play the guitar. We've got yoga. We've got things like teaching people how to use their money. Might not be applicable in this sense, but anything you can think of that is already like a category of interest for people, there's your market right there.
There you go. That's one way to go about it. To add to that, I would say you should also consider the platforms that are out there, the big ones and the ones that are emerging. If you look at the big ones, I mean, obviously, if you are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, you need to be active. There's no reason to not be active. You'll see a lot more potential to grow your follower base, your engagement during these times. And now take another shot as we advance.
And now I'm setting the pace. Cheers.
Tink.
Yeah, baby. So platforms,
I talked about big ones. Now about the emerging platforms. If you are at home and you have an Oculus headset, if you have a VR headset of any kind, I highly recommend that you jump into it while you have all this time and you start looking at the possibilities to connect and grow in VR, because over the next 10 years, it is going to be a huge medium for people.
Do you think I should buy a VR headset?
Yes, you can buy the Oculus Quest that came out last year. Is the first VR headset in history that's cordless, that allows you to move in full 6 degrees of freedom. You can look up and down, left and right, and you can move back and forth.
You don't need to have a console. It's just all.
Nope.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Wow.
It does everything that the Oculus Rift used to do, but it's, in my opinion, far more powerful, and it's incredible.
And you can create content.
Yes.
How do you create content for the Oculus?
First, let me just explain what you can do. So obviously, you can meet up with people. You can have meetups, conferences, events with people. I know
Cybersex
all the time. I've done podcasts with people in VR. It's incredible, because you can say fuck reality and you can make whatever you want reality in VR. You can make it as unique as you want, as creative as you want. That's the best part. From the other aspect, yes, you can put out content. You can access all your social media through.
You can go to YouTube, for example. You can play YouTube.
Sure.
From the Oculus.
Sure. You can do all your social media stuff via the Oculus. You can access an entire browser, just like a normal computer, through your Oculus. There are all kinds of apps coming out every single day that allow you to engage with people and put out content. I mean, social media, if you look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, blah, 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 you're just posting stuff and interacting with people from that medium. The future of social media is going to be pure digital interaction, where you're walking around, talking to people, using hand gestures, where you physically feel that you're at a meeting, where you physically feel that you're conveying a message rather than just typing it on Twitter, right? Where you're giving someone a photo or a video physically in VR versus just posting it on YouTube or Instagram. That's the future of social media. And if you are stuck at home, you definitely need to be playing around with that. And there are platforms like VR chat, for example, where you can create your own worlds. In these worlds that you can do whatever you want. You could create a podcast studio and host podcasts in VR. You could create your own store and you could sell virtual items in your store for people. You could do just about anything you want. So, I mean, you need to dive in and look at all the possibilities. I highly recommend people jump into VR.
I mean, you know, like this is more of a, okay, here's what I think about this. And I think it's an awesome idea. I think it's definitely going to take off. It's just the next logical step, right? But it's more of a medium to long-term play because, and this is really important for people who are listening because we're not actually giving you advice. We're literally just suggesting things that you could do if you wanted to, if you saw the value in it. And I think it's really important to explain to people that that anything you do is probably not going to be, unless you're buying stuff that you can sell at a profit immediately, anything you do is going to take some time and effort to see the results. And this particular approach, which is leveraging virtual reality, could be a medium to long-term thing, meaning you're not going to see the results until like months down the line because there needs to be people using the platform, commercing on the platform. And even with things that are already popular like YouTube and Instagram and even TikTok right now, I'm more than happy to, because I understand, to spend the time building a medium to long-term personal brand because I know how it works. People don't buy things from you straight away. You don't get a million viewers straight away to monetize with advertisements and things. So just want to be really clear that if you do go down this road, don't expect to get results immediately. This is something that you have to keep working on consistently, but definitely it can be a big deal. Like, for example, I mean, there are even personal brands that we watch daily now who aren't really doing anything of value, but they're incredibly funny. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's valuable to have a comedian. It's valuable to be entertained, but they're not necessarily selling a skill. They're just entertaining you. And there's a whole group of these influencers. So by all means, if you want to just create comedy, I think that's an amazing idea too. Talking about people like Vincent Marcus. Do you know that guy?
Yeah, I do.
He does all these kind of, he can do like, what's the guy's name again? Eminem.
Oh, Eminem is the alcohol.
He can do Eminem really well, man. It's so funny. And the thing is, they actually work with each other. So they do these collaborations and they can get even more views and more engagement. And they're obviously monetizing through advertisements and things. So, you know, there's a load of different ways to create a personal brand. But I think moving on, maybe one of the things that really gets in the way of people starting is perfectionism. Like, am I going to be good enough? Do I have the I need? And I don't think that's even an issue right now, because most of the people that you see online that are very popular and have a high production started out just using their phones with the phone microphone, whatever. They didn't have a professional lighting setup. They didn't have even maybe a proper business plan, but they at least created something and put it out there and saw whether it was received well or not. And then it just adjusted over time.
Exactly. So part of it is, just fucking doing it, because a lot of people just don't start, and then being consistent with it. Let's take Gary Vee, for example. So we talk about him all the time with Wine Library. It took him 4 years of pumping out videos on Wine Library for him to gain the kind of traction to get him to where he is, to get him to have that kind of success on social media. It took him a long time. Some people if you're on TikTok, you post one video, maybe you become a superstar overnight. That's a reality of how these algorithms work. Other times, it might take you an extended period of time. It might take you 1, 2, 3, 4 years to actually become popular. But I mean, that only happens if you're willing to put in the work. Are you willing to be diligent, to be consistent, and to actually start in the first place? Yeah. I think with any of these platforms, regardless of the algorithm, regardless of where you are, you're following, what you're doing, forget about how good your content looks. Forget about how well you sound or how well you look. Put it out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's that kind of concern, isn't it? It's a concern with people. They don't want to be seen as a failure. So if they have a video that's out there on their profile and it's got like 7 views, it's something to be ashamed of. But that's not the case. We're not like, you don't need to be flossing all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you can create content and be detached from that because it's going to take time. That's just really what it is. It's understanding the journey. I was going to say, you've got to let go of perfectionism and you've got to stop worrying about what other people think of you. Yes. And that's going to let you move ahead and create something, just anything.
And that is important for a starting point. Like once you get things going, once you get a groove and you feel like you know what you're doing, it's okay. It's okay to take your content and try and tweak it, make it better, improve it. Awesome. Everyone should do that. But when you're starting out and you don't know what you're doing and you feel lost going into it, don't worry about it. Just put it out.
There's the oven. That's the oven finished.
Does that mean it's time to take a shot? I think that means it's time to take a shot.
I'm going to take a shot.
That's going to be our new sounds. Your oven.
We could totally do that. Although we may be plagiarizing. But yeah, we could totally do that.
You should set your oven for quarter-hour intervals to go off. That will be our sign to take shots going forward.
That's really funny. That's actually a good idea. I think I'm going to investigate that. But let me ask you something.
It's time to take a shot.
Cheers. Thanks. Good chin. Let me ask you this. So when you started doing your content, what were your biggest hang-ups and that you had to overcome yourself?
I didn't like putting out my face because I didn't look like what
I can totally understand that, man. I can see it right now.
I'm so ugly. I'm so fucking ugly. No, I'm beautiful. I love me. I'm beautiful. Gorgeous. But I didn't like looking at myself on video, and I didn't like my voice more than anything. I hated listening to my fucking voice. And that is something that's difficult if you're trying to start a podcast. So over a year ago, when I started my blockchain podcast, Blockhash, Exploring the Blockchain, which has seen incredible success and incredible growth over the past year. God, the alcohol's starting to talk already. This is perfect. So overcoming that is very difficult. At some point, you have to realize that, other people, when they hear your voice, when they look at you, they hear or see something different than what you see or hear. And most people don't like hearing and seeing their own voice or their own face. It's just reality. It's weird, but it's real. So what you have to do is just say, fuck it. You have to adopt that mentality and you have to just put it out there anyways. And for months on end, I hated editing video because I had to listen to my own voice. Yeah. But, as you continuously put out your voice, you start learning more about how you sound. You start more about how you can change your dialect, how you're talking, the tone of your voice. And you start accepting like how your voice is. And same thing with video. You start accepting how you look on video and you stop giving a shit. That is the most important part, because once you overcome that hurdle and then you don't care, you start putting out all kinds of audio, all kinds of video. Once I started accepting that for myself, my podcast grew tremendously because I just chatted up a storm with people, had great conversations. When I do videos, whether it be just stuff on Instagram stories, Instagram Live, Facebook, YouTube, I just put out so much content, video of myself that I just got used to it over time. And, over time you learn how to kind of, tweak certain things, maybe you make yourself, feel a little bit better, look a little bit better, blah, 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 like that, But overall, the take home message is just say fuck it and just put it out there. Stop worrying about how you sound, how you look. And that is something that I learned that was very, very life-changing in terms of my overall social media output. And I'm sure you can relate, and I'm sure many people can also relate to that. It's a common issue.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. That's exactly what I was going to say, actually. It's the first thing that people worry about because it's so visceral and it's so alien. I don't know if I told you this, but one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me was when I was growing up. I had a best friend he's still one of my really good friends, but he heard me singing once and he was like, "Hey, you should totally go to karaoke." And I was like, "Really?" Because I'd never done it before. And so we went and I sang, and it was the first time I was using a microphone. So I'd never heard what my voice sounds like. It's different. It's just a totally different experience. And and I lost my tone and my tune because I was so concerned. I just didn't like it. And it was he was laughing so much in the audience, and it was crazy. It was just a very hard thing to experience, but it's part of the journey. Like you're not perfect, and no one's perfect. So the thing is, you got to remember, you probably can't remember the last time you watched someone performing a video or talking on a podcast. You probably can't remember the last time you were like, "Ugh, what's this voice?" or "Ugh, what's this person on camera?" You don't care. They're there, they're saying something, and you're listening to try to find out what the value is in that. Right. They might be great looking, and you'll notice that. But even if they're super ugly or whatever, it doesn't matter because you're not interested in that. You're interested in the content. And confidence, this is really, really, really powerful. If you can fathom this and you can use it to your advantage, confidence is so much more attractive overall than anything aesthetic, usually. Over time, especially as you start to get one, which if you keep creating content, but confidence is the most attractive thing. So what I'm trying to say is don't worry too much about how things sound, how things look. Worry about the value and worry about your own confidence in yourself, and it will come over time. It won't come immediately, but then again, nothing comes straight away. It takes time.
Yes, I totally agree. And to add to that, in terms of audio, like if you're doing a podcast, for example, focus on the message, focus on what you're trying to tell people, because as long as you're conveying what you want to say and you're doing it clearly, people don't care. People don't care what your voice really sounds like. It's the stupidest thing in the world. People care about what your take-home message is. People care about what you're saying, what you're conveying, what the value is giving them. That's the best thing about podcasts and about audio is that it's easy to consume. It's easy to listen to wherever you are. And it's easy for people to put out too, frankly. Video is a lot more complex. With video, you are, right. In some ways, you're relying on looks. In some ways, you're relying on what kind of effect you're putting out, what kind of lighting you have. How does your video come out? Is it going to have the same virality as someone that has a production studio? Video is a lot more complex. I'll give that. But in terms of audio, it's about the message. So stop worrying about how you sound. Make sure you're conveying what you want to say. People will listen. People really do listen. People love podcasts because you can listen to it wherever. In the car, in the shower, in the gym, when you're on a run, when you're at work and you're supposed to be working, but you don't want to work, when you're in self-quarantine, when you're in the hospital and you're on your deathbed. People are listening. I'm telling you, people are listening. Jump on the podcast trend. It is going to get big. It's going to get very big. A lot of these tech companies, especially Apple, have been deciding to like split their platforms up. Like we look at Apple specifically. They took iTunes and they decided to split it up into 3 categories: music, movies and TV, and podcasts. The fact that they decided to create 3 platforms and one of the biggest platforms to be podcasts specifically is because they know the future is going that way.
Right.
A $1 trillion company, $1 trillion tech company that we all love, that knows that that's the direction things are going. Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, Microsoft, Google, they're all promoting audio because they know audio is the future of content and it's convenient and efficient for people. So get into it. Get into audio, get into podcasts. I'm telling you, it's where people are going to really put out content other than, all this virtual reality stuff.
Right. And we're doing a video now.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do a video. You can do just an audio. Just to start. And you don't have to move to video either.
This will be in both video and audio form.
Right. Exactly.
So whatever is most convenient for you, we got you. We got you, bro. And brodettes. I don't know. I feel bad for the women right now.
Brodettes.
Brodette. Dudette. I don't know.
I think it would be dudettes would be the nearest. That would be the nearest one.
I think about a million women hate me right now.
Right. Well, for every million women that hate you, I'm sure there's 2 that like you. It's okay.
I'm sure there's plenty that already are very moody and angry with me. And there are plenty that are now hating me. So
now we're learning more about Brandon's private life.
Yes,
okay.
My private life.
Interesting.
Let's not dive into that unless I have.
That's why you should tune into my. That's why you should tune into my content. I'll basically I'll help you out, man. I'm gonna give you all my tips and tricks.
I've looked at your content. You did an IGT video on cheating, and I could not
how to cheat, but more like what to do if you.
Let's clarify. It's not on how to cheat, but how to overcome cheating.
Can you imagine?
Jeez. Oh my God.
Who is this dude?
Let's not go there.
No, let's not go down that road. But basically, like for example, for me, my focus when it comes to branding myself is to talk about relationships. So you can really talk about anything. Mm-hmm. And I think what we've done now on this podcast is give people a reason to begin. We've given them a strategy to overcome their deepest, darkest fears of creating content. We've given them advice, or at least we've given them some options on what platforms to use and what kind of things to talk about or create. You don't need to have a production team. You can just create content on your phone. That's more than enough right now. And a little bit of insight on the future of content as well, whether it's going to be on YouTube or Apple or even VR headsets, which, by the way, I'm probably going to go out and buy one now. Or not go out and buy one, stay in and buy one.
You could do it that way. If you're young and healthy, don't be afraid to walk around. It's okay. It's go to the store and buy one. You're fine. But I mean, if you're scared, you want to be at home, you're older, you're already.
I am those things.
You already have some kind of illness. Okay, fine. Stay home and order it. But I definitely recommend that you get one, that you get yourself a headset.
That's a good point. So what are you saying there? Support local businesses, basically, is what you're saying.
You should support local businesses. I'm young, I'm healthy. Everyone I know in the city is basically staying at home right now and just kind of panicking and, acting like it's the apocalypse. I'm doing the opposite. I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm not sick. I'm going out and about as much as I can, and I'm spending cash. There are people on the street that are selling things. I'm giving them cash and just, I don't need a fucking charm bracelet, but I'll buy it because it helps somebody. You know, I don't fucking need a taco every single day from 10 different places, but I'll go out and give them some cash and buy a taco. Support local businesses. If you're young and healthy, you're not going to die from COVID. Worst case scenario, absolute worst case, you get the flu and you go home and you self-quarantine. Wonderful. Go out, spend some cash, support your economy. Don't just sit around and feel sorry for yourself. That's what I was getting at earlier. That's another part of it. You don't need to sit at home and feel sorry for yourself. Go do something, help people. I mean, I'm sure you've already taken out all your cash. Look at the markets. Everything's in the fucking red for like weeks. Clearly you have cash. I know you have cash.
So pissed about that.
Instead of buying all the toilet paper at Target, go out and fucking spend the money, right? Help businesses, support them. It's a tough time. If those businesses go under, what do you think is going to happen? This economy is really bad right now. We just entered recession. We could global depression and far worse. These businesses are being forced to shut down in a lot of ways. So the ones that are still open, the malls, the street vendors, support them, help them out.
I agree with you.
Go out and
that's amazing advice.
Buy a fucking bratwurst. Who cares? Buy a churro. Who cares?
Or maybe a kielbasa.
Go support your local prostitute. I don't care what it is. Spend the money, circulate it. Okay, that's how economies work. That's how markets work. If you're young, get out there, and if you're elderly, yes, stay home. Just be smart. I mean, the reality is, if you're young and healthy, you don't need to sit in your room and jack off to Mulan. That's very specific. But what do you think people are doing? What do you think people are doing?
Wait. No, just give me a second. I need to understand if I've missed something in Mulan because I can't remember if there's a scene in there that I need to rewatch again.
No, so this is what people are doing. They're sad. They're lonely. They're sitting in their bed. They have all of this tissue paper and toilet paper, and they're thinking about how all this started in Wuhan, China. You know what they're doing right now? They're going on Disney Plus or Netflix, probably Disney Plus because it's super popular, and they're probably watching Mulan. And you know, they're getting lonely. And Mulan's pretty hot, and they're just going at it. That's the reality.
Right. Okay. All right. That's impressive, bro. That's intricate. I like that. I like that a lot. No, I hope that's not what's happening.
It's what's happening. Let's be honest.
It is really the reality.
In your bed, you have tissue paper. What are you doing? Yes, exactly. So stop jacking yourself off and go out and do something. You're not 7.
Yeah, I think it highlights how much of a community we really are, regardless of how we feel about other people. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole thing, this stable, at least it was relatively stable, economy, society, way of life. It isn't really if you don't work together, if you don't support each other. So I highly agree with what you just said. This is our last shot of the night, by the way, because otherwise I'm going to be destroyed.
So what is this, 5?
I think we're probably going to build up our immunity to alcohol over the course of this season.
I think we will do that. If we don't, it's going to be quite an interesting string of episodes. So I'm very excited, but fuck me. Tink.
Ting. All right. We need to come up with a sound bite, a sound effect for that whole ka-ching. You can put it in afterwards. That's a good one.
I really like
guys and girls. We're all about the sponsorship money here. This is always on my mind. But
please send us money.
Please send us money, please, before it's too late. So I do agree with everything you just said. I think supporting local businesses really is very powerful, more powerful than I think most people understand. Mm. I am a vendor myself, and I sell services, and I know that, business is very hard for not just myself, but for other people too. So, let's keep things going and try to minimize the kind of impact that all of this virus situation is going to have on the economy. Exactly. I think that's a really powerful note to end this podcast on. Yeah.
Definitely go out, make a contribution where you can. To give you an example before we wrap up, I think one of the things that I'm planning on doing is I'm taking some money and I'm going to invest in a whole bunch of N95 and N99 masks. And I'm going to go out. There's a lot of people that, that are foreigners, that are on the streets, that are from Venezuela, that don't have protection, that have kids, that don't have the kind of means to get through a virus like this, and that are catalysts to spread this virus. So what I'm going to try and do, what my friends are going to try and do, we're going to invest in these masks. We're going to go out and we're going to give them for free. We're going to go out, we're going to give them out for free, and find people that really need them, and just kind of spread some positive energy, spread some positive love. It's not expensive to buy these masks. They're really cheap. They're dirt cheap. But people need them. There's a lot of people that don't have access to that stuff. So we're going to go out and do some good. I would encourage a lot of people, especially people that are young, like I've said a billion times on this podcast already, they're young and healthy, go out and find a way to make a change.
Yeah.
Instead of hoarding supplies that you don't need, go out and give some supplies away. I don't care if you do it for a profit or if you do it for free. Help people, create an opportunity, go do something, change the world. You have an opportunity right now. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. That's what I recommend you guys do. And that's going to be my take home message for the end of this podcast. Go make a change, go do something.
Yeah. Be the world you want to see.
Exactly. Shape your reality.
All right. That sounds awesome. Well, I think it was a good podcast episode. I think it was a good first one.
I think it was a great episode. I'm feeling Jose quite a bit, and it feels really gay to say that, but I don't know, man. Yeah. I feel Jose a lot right now.
Me too. I'm glad that was our last shot.
Shit.
So next episode.
What do we tell the people?
Next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but if by then we've published this one, which we should have, and we have some feedback from people, feel free to suggest anything. I mean, we'll still have time to create the plan for it, but we usually go into things without planning it too much at this point anyway. So
well, let's let the people try and decide. We will put it out on social media. We'll give you guys different outlets. Give us some ideas. Fuck me. There are a lot of podcast topics we'd love to talk about, and there are a lot of different alcohols that we'd love to try. So
absolutely.
If you have something that you'd love to see us drink and talk about, please tell us, please. Yeah. Because we are here for your entertainment, and
we are here for good.
We're
Our livers are here.
You don't give a fuck whether you like us or not. We're here. So, get used to us. Welcome to the yet to be named Untitled podcast.
Oh yeah, that's true. We'll come up with it before we publish.
Also,
for sure.
People, you want some
good ideas.
You want to help us with the podcast title? Let us know. We might put something out that's preliminary, but help us out. If you got some good ideas that has to do with alcohol and talking about awesome shit and having a good time, throw it out there. We're always open to suggestions. Love it.
All right, bro. Sounds good. All right. I'm going to go and recover from this.